Court filings reveal that Michael was defrauded of $235,000 by Angela Deem. Angela Deem, star of 90 Day Fiancé, is in hot water once more after new court documents surfaced online, showing that she defrauded her divorced husband Michael Ilasami of more than $235,000 while he was still in Nigeria. Let us get into the juicy facts, so stay put. Stars of 90 Day Fiancé. After Angela Deem filed a petition for marriage annulment in a Georgia court in June 2024, alleging that Michael had defrauded her in order to obtain permanent status in the United States, the two are currently embroiled in a legal battle. In addition to accusing her estranged husband Michael of being a scammer, Angela Deem even hired a private investigator to support her claims. However, when Michael was found not guilty, all of her hard work backfired. Michael's lawyer recently stressed that all legal requirements for a legally void marriage in Georgia were satisfied, including mutual consent, legal competence to marry, and consummation of the relationship, in accordance with fresh court filings. As a result, the court ought to suggest rejecting the motion for annulment. When they originally began speaking online, Angela Deem was the one pursuing a relationship with the Nigerian man, and she also came up with the plan to meet him in person in Nigeria, according to Michael's lawyer. Therefore, her claims that she was used to obtain a green card were entirely false. It was shocking to see that new records refuted Angela Deem's accusations that Michael was a scammer. When Angela Deem begged for assistance, Michael Ilasami provided her more than $235,000 between May 24, 2018 and December 2023. She informed Michael she was transferring the funds to an account so they would have cash on hand until Angela obtained a driver's license and a job. Additionally, Angela Deem asked for 95% of the show is profits, and Michael also paid her bills. At the time, they were lawfully married. According to these court documents, Angela Deem was the one who conned Michael Ilasami and used him for financial gain and television publicity because she was the one who suggested that he take part in the program. However, a fan page posted the alarming new information on Instagram, and many followers immediately reacted to it. One admirer stated, "Is there proof he sent that money? That's insane if it's true. Grant him citizenship at once." Another one added, "Oh shit, now you know they will be upset that you share real correct updates. Why would you put up real court documents that show the truth? Damn, he had receipts of sending money. He paid for citizenship already." Some fans were dubious about where the Nigerian guy obtained all of this money, but many believe that Michael Ilasami has already acquired his US citizenship for sending Angela so much money. Fans should be aware that Michael was living in a third world country and selling cameos to his followers while he was in Nigeria. It is possible that he earned that sum from the Cameo platform, even though he knew that Angela was the one receiving payment from all TLC shows, and not him, because TLC does not pay foreign nationals from other nations. Ultimately, it is clear that Angela was the con artist in this relationship, and Michael has been subjected to emotional and physical abuse in addition to false accusations. Therefore, we fervently hope that Michael Ilasami prevails in this legal dispute and is allowed to remain in the United States. As expected, Angela has not taken this development lightly. Reports suggest that Angela is now attempting to interfere with Michael's legal efforts by pressuring him to withdraw the lawsuit. Additionally, she is allegedly trying to gain access to the funds Michael has raised through GoFundMe, possibly seeing it as a way to regain control over him or to undermine his independence. Angela's alleged actions appear to be in line with the behavior that has been criticized by both fans and Michael's supporters. Her attempts to take control of the donations intended for Michael's legal defense highlight the ongoing power struggle between them. However, it seems that Michael is standing firm in his decision to pursue legal action and distance himself from Angela's influence. The situation has garnered significant attention from 90 Day Fiancé fans and the wider public. Many have expressed their support for Michael, praising his determination to stand up to Angela and regain control over his life. The successful fundraising campaign reflects a broader consensus among viewers that Michael deserves the opportunity to live free from Angela's alleged abuse and manipulation. The coming months will be critical in determining the outcome of Michael's legal battle and his efforts to secure his green card. If successful, Michael could finally achieve the independence he has been seeking and put an end to his tumultuous relationship with Angela. However, if Angela continues to interfere, the road ahead may be challenging.
That coming. I don't care what y'all think about me because I know the real mother.
But he's not better than the private investigator, though.
Because
and we can
we
all
didn't have enough time to get it all. This ain't, he ain't had enough time. This is 2 weeks investigating. We're going home. Y'all enjoy. I don't care what y'all think about me because I know the real mother.
But he's not better than the private investigator, though.
Because
and we
you know what?
we
We
can
didn't
all...
have enough time to get it up.
Their breakup wasn't just your average drama. It was explosive, packed with accusations and threats flying everywhere. Michael was ready to move on, but Angela? Oh, she wasn't letting go that easy. She came for him hard, launching legal battles left and right, hell-bent on proving he was a cheater, a liar, and a straight-up scammer. Angela's campaign against him was relentless, but Michael had something she didn't: truth and integrity. As the accusations stacked up, Michael wasn't just battling for his reputation. He was fighting for his future. Angela wasn't holding back either. She accused him of everything under the sun: cheating with younger women, scamming her out of cash, and playing with her emotions just to get ahead. She was dead set on the idea that Michael only used her to score a visa to America, planning to ditch her the moment he got what he wanted. The accusations cut deep, and Michael felt the weight of them bearing down on him. Despite all the ups and downs, Michael had once cared deeply for Angela, so watching her go all out to ruin him was downright painful. But Michael wasn't about to let Angela's rage wreck his life.
Does anything tell you that Michael is cheating on Angela in any way?
I've got 160 pages of reports. To answer your question directly, no, there's not.
Okay.
Good.
I don't care. I don't care. You just talk. What did you leave there?
Send me back home.
That's the last time you'll say that.
He knew that if he was going to walk away from this mess with his head held high, he needed to clear his name once and for all. That's when Michael decided it was time to flip the script and take legal action of his own, hitting Angela with a defamation lawsuit. He understood that Angela was coming from a place of anger and pain, but that didn't give her the right to drag his name through the mud with lies. Michael brought in a top-notch legal team, ready to prove his innocence in court. The legal battles stretched out for months, with both sides going hard to make their case. As time went on, Angela's accusations got more elaborate. She started claiming that Michael had a secret life back in Nigeria, full of younger women who were only after his money. She was dead set on the idea that Michael had been scamming her from the jump, using his smooth talk to trick her into sending him money and gifts. But Angela's evidence was shaky at best, mostly hearsay and circumstantial stuff. Still, she was confident that her fiery testimony would be enough to win over the judge.
After an exhaustive study of you, look, I've got a 189-page report. Almost every single thing that's ever been mentioned about you on the internet. It took a staff of about 5 investigators to dig all the information up that we have. So if there's anything that you want to disclose, now would be a great time to do that.
No.
Michael, on the other hand, stayed cool and collected throughout the trial. He knew he had nothing to hide and trusted that the truth would shine through in the end. His legal team worked around the clock to dismantle Angela's claims, presenting solid evidence that completely contradicted her story. They proved that Michael had never been involved in any shady financial dealings, and that the women Angela accused him of cheating with were simply friends or casual acquaintances. The most damning piece of evidence came when Michael's legal team brought in the testimony of Angela's own private investigator. In a desperate move to dig up dirt on Michael, Angela had hired this investigator, hoping to catch him red-handed and finally prove he was the man she believed him to be. But the investigator, a seasoned pro, spent weeks following Michael, interviewing people in his life and digging into his past. What he uncovered was far from what Angela had hoped for. Angela was sure the investigator would dig up something, anything, that would confirm her suspicions. But when the private investigator took the stand, the courtroom was left stunned. Instead of dropping some bombshell against Michael, the investigator testified that Michael was, in fact, innocent.
I want the private detective to prove that I'm wrong. I want it to be wrong. I want to be so wrong. He has no idea.
Michael, were you aware that Angela hired a private investigator?
No.
He found no evidence of cheating, scamming, or any other shady behavior. It was a twist no one saw coming, especially not Angela. The investigator described Michael as a straightforward, honest man who had been unfairly caught in Angela's vendetta. His testimony was the final nail in the coffin for Angela's case. As the verdict loomed, the tension in the courtroom was thick. Angela was visibly shaken, fidgeting in her seat, her face twisted with a mix of anger and disbelief. She couldn't wrap her mind around the fact that the man she had spent years with, the man she was convinced had betrayed her might actually be innocent. When the judge finally delivered the verdict, clearing Michael of all accusations, the courtroom burst into applause. Michael had won. He was free from Angela's accusations, and his name was cleared. But Angela wasn't about to accept the outcome. As the applause roared on, she jumped up, shouting at the judge, at Michael, at the private investigator, at anyone who would listen. Her outburst was a mix of rage and disbelief, and she wasn't done making her voice heard. Angela accused the investigator of lying, claiming he'd been bribed by Michael's legal team. Her outburst was wild, the kind of fiery rage that had become her trademark on *90-Day Fiancé. But this time, no one was paying her any mind. The courtroom had already shifted its focus, congratulating Michael on his big win. Michael stayed composed, even as Angela's screams reverberated through the room. He had seen this side of her plenty of times before, but now it no longer had any sway over him. Michael was free, not just legally, but emotionally too. Angela's attempts to drag him down had flopped, and it was finally time for him to move on with his life. As Angela stormed out of the courtroom, still hurling accusations and insults, Michael felt a wave of peace wash over him. He had fought hard for this moment, and now it was finally here. His life was his own again, and he was ready to start fresh. With the backing of his friends and family, Michael knew he could leave the past behind and look forward to a brighter future. But even as Michael moved on, Angela's rage was still simmering. She wasn't one to back down easily, and her battle wasn't over yet. In the days that followed, Angela kept the drama going, spreading rumors about Michael and trying to tarnish his reputation however she could. She popped up on talk shows, gave interviews, and even took to social media to vent her frustration with the verdict. But the more she ranted, the clearer it became to people that she was just a bitter, angry woman, struggling to accept her loss. Michael, on the other hand, embraced his newfound freedom with open arms. He dove into projects he'd put on the back burner for years, reconnected with old friends, and even started thinking about new relationships. The trial had been a major turning point for him, a moment when he realized he didn't owe anyone, especially not Angela, any proof of his worth. He had been vindicated, and now he was ready to focus on his own happiness and future. As the months rolled on, Angela's fury gradually faded into the background. The public grew weary of her incessant outbursts, and even her most ardent supporters began to question her motives. Meanwhile, Michael thrived. He was finally free to live his life on his own terms, without Angela's shadow looming over him. And Angela? She was left to confront the reality of her actions and the fallout they had caused. She had tried to tear Michael apart, but in the end, she only managed to tear herself down. Her reputation was in ruins, her credibility in question, and she was left alone, screaming into the void as Michael moved on to a life full of hope and promise. For years, Michael Ellis had been stuck in a relationship that was more about endurance than love. From the moment he met Angela Deem, Michael was captivated by her fiery personality and bold confidence. He believed these traits hid a heart that would truly value the love and loyalty he was ready to give. But as time passed, Michael started to see that his devotion to Angela was being taken for granted. His love was weaponized against him in ways he could never have anticipated. Michael's efforts to show Angela his love were relentless and steadfast. Whether it was through heartfelt words, small gestures of affection, or bending over backward to compromise, he did everything he could to make Angela feel secure in their relationship. He'd wake up early just to call her, fully aware of how much she valued their daily check-ins, even if it meant sacrificing his own sleep. He went out of his way to avoid any situation that could be misconstrued, constantly reassuring Angela that she was the only woman in his life. Despite the distance between them, Michael always made sure Angela knew he was thinking of her, missing her, and planning for a future where they could finally be together. But Angela rarely, if ever, returned these efforts. Instead of meeting Michael's love with warmth, Angela often responded with suspicion and anger. It felt like nothing Michael did was ever enough. If he called too often, Angela labeled him as needy. If he didn't call enough, she accused him of cheating. Even when he tried to surprise her with thoughtful gestures, Angela would twist them into something negative, claiming he was trying to manipulate her. Michael found himself trapped in a lose-lose situation, where his love was both demanded and rejected in equal measure. One of Angela's closest friends once made a brutally honest remark, saying Angela treated Michael like a dog. That comment hit Michael hard. It was painfully true that he was often treated as if his feelings didn't matter, as though he existed solely to fulfill Angela's needs and desires. Angela's friend observed how she would bark orders at Michael, expecting him to obey immediately, and how she rarely, if ever, listened to what he had to say. It was clear that Michael's role in the relationship was to be silent and compliant, always ready to jump at her command, but never allowed to voice his own thoughts or feelings. This dynamic was painfully evident in their arguments, which had grown more frequent and intense over time. Whenever Michael tried to speak up and explain his side or share his feelings, Angela would cut him off mid-sentence. "Shut up, Michael!" she would scream, her voice dripping with frustration and disdain. It didn't matter whether the argument argument was about something trivial or serious, Michael was never given the chance to finish his thoughts. His voice and opinions were consistently dismissed as if they had no value. The silencing wasn't just a tactic for Angela to win arguments, it was a method of control. By shutting Michael down, Angela made sure the narrative of their relationship stayed one-sided, her side. Michael's feelings of love, hurt, frustration, and desperation were all kept bottled up, never fully expressed, because Angela simply wouldn't allow him to express them. Over time, this began to wear down Michael's spirit. He became quieter and more reserved, scared that anything he said might set off another outburst from Angela. The man who had once been full of life and energy was now subdued, his light dimmed by the relentless negativity from the woman he loved. Despite all this, Michael stayed committed to Angela, convinced that if he just tried harder, loved her more, and proved his loyalty beyond any doubt, she would finally see how much he cared. He desperately wanted Angela to understand that his love was genuine, that he wasn't like the men who had hurt her in the past. But no matter what he did, Angela couldn't or wouldn't see it. She was too consumed by her insecurities and fears to recognize the genuine love Michael was offering her. The culmination of this toxic dynamic was the court case, where Angela accused Michael of cheating, scamming, and manipulating her. As the accusations piled up, Michael felt the weight of all those years spent trying to prove his love to someone who refused to believe it. In the courtroom, with lawyers and witnesses all around, Michael couldn't help but think about every time he'd been silenced. All those moments when Angela picked doubt over trust. This trial was the ultimate showdown of his love. But for the first time, Michael wasn't just trying to prove himself to Angela. He was fighting to show the world his truth. When Angela's private investigator came clean, declaring Michael was innocent of all charges, a huge wave of relief hit him. For years, Michael had been bending over backward to prove to Angela that he was a stand-up guy, that his love was real, and that he deserved her trust. And now, in the most public way imaginable, that truth had finally been validated. Michael wasn't the villain Angela had made him out to be. He was a man who'd been wronged and silenced, but was finally given a voice. Angela's reaction to the verdict was exactly what everyone expected. She lashed out, enraged that the world wasn't siding with her. But Michael didn't give a damn about her tantrums. For the first time in years, he felt liberated from the grip of Angela's control. He had triumphed not just in court, but in life. He'd proven his innocence, his worth, and that he wouldn't be silenced anymore. As Michael strode out of the courtroom with his head held high, he knew this was the start of a fresh chapter. He was done bending over backward to prove his love to someone who refused to see it. From now on, Michael would focus on loving himself, finding someone who appreciated him for who he truly was, and living a life free from the toxic mess that had defined his relationship with Angela. The road ahead wouldn't be a walk in the park. He knew healing from years of emotional abuse would take time, but Michael was ready to take those first steps toward a brighter future. He was ready to speak up, share his story, and show the world he was more than just the man silenced by Angela Deem. He was Michael Alessandri, a man who had fought for his freedom and emerged victorious. As he looked to the future, he saw it glowing with possibilities he once thought were beyond his grasp. No longer was he the quiet, compliant man letting Angela dictate his life. He was now a man who had reclaimed his voice, his dignity, and his future. And that, more than anything, was the greatest victory of all. In the end, Michael's triumph wasn't just about winning the court cases. It was about taking back his life, his dignity, and his future. And as he looked toward the future, he knew that no matter what challenges came his way, he was strong enough to tackle them head-on. Michael had weathered the storm, and now he was finally free to bask in the sunshine. Thanks for watching.